Hello, we're going to take a look at one of the altcoins today, NEXO US dollar on HITBTC. We're going to draw out some support and resistance levels just to see where we can get the next entry. I'm going to start off first with our monthly levels, which based on the previous, I'm pretty sure we've just taken off the bottom of one of these. There we go. It shouldn't take too long. Right, there's some good monthly levels there. So as you can see, we've had quite a bit of a dump down from the higher levels. Let's see how low we came. Oof, down to the 886. That's not a bad point of contact there. The problem with altcoins is they always dump off. No matter how good they're doing, how good the news announcement, they always end up dumping off at least 80-90%. And that's been historical. Which is always the downside. Visibility, what we got? Well, we got months on there, so why are we not seeing it? We got the 2, where's the 786 is there. Let's stick our 1 on because we don't have a 1. Make that nice white color. There we go. So we've done the 1-to-1 on the fib extension. The retracements on the 886. So as you can see already, just from those 3 levels, we've got the 1-to-1 extension, the 886 retracement, and you've got the monthly level. All right. Let's have a look at time. Since the low, let's see, the March 20 low, which would be the COVID pandemic started news in the January, and the big drop in all markets was the March to the current high. So generally it takes twice as long to come down as it does to go up. So as you can see, the run up here gives us a matching length of 1 here, which would actually coincide exactly with the second low we put in. Is that the bottom? Ratio of 1-to-1, usually I'd say it isn't. I'd be looking more towards the 1.61 to the 2, which does really drag us out long term till next September, which is probably not something most of us want to see. So I'd be mindful of that, and we can verify that in a lot of other charts as well. But yeah, definitely I wouldn't expect to see another run up immediately. You will get some short term spikes and rallies, but definitely not an immediate run up on that one. All right, let's take that off. Just hide that fib as well. All right, let's see what else we've got. So we're down on the weekly. So weekly levels to look out for. All right, so there's one thing you'll notice here. So this weekly level here where we spiked off and come back, if we just quickly go over to the Binance chart, if you look at this section here from, I think it's the 25th of April, if we just shoot to the Binance one, on the Binance chart on the 25th of April, so obviously the announcement came that morning, it had a massive rise up, which is why it shows on the HITBTC chart, because it went across all markets, and subsequently each week after that, there's a huge downtrend, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks in a row. 9 weeks in a row before it bottomed out. It's gone sideways. We will take a look at this chart shortly, once we get down to those lower sections. A couple of points of reference. That's also a weekly level here, which coincides with the monthly, so I won't mark that one out. As we drop down to the daily, you'll notice there's a lot of gaps in the charts. Now, HITBTC doesn't have the best volume, but it's not a bad exchange, especially where alts begin. If I take a look over here, so that's that point here. So you can really see, in fact, let's not even put a daily on that. What we're going to do is let's put a volume profile over this section here. So this sideways consolidation before the massive run up. Now what we do is if you take that volume in that whole area here, what you can see is there's a concentration of volume here, which would be known as like a local point of control. Now, if you take that local point of control, where's that sitting at 61.9 cents? Look at that, perfectly coincides with exactly what we've got here. The monthly, you've got a local POC, we had the 886 fib retracement, and you've had a one-to-one extension of this ABC correction. Is this correction over? Who knows? All you can do is take a trade or buy this based on a probability and your personal opinion. The only thing I can see going against us is time. It had a beautiful one-to-one in terms of time. You know, it took one to get up. It's took an equal one to get down. I do still feel there is a potential, even if we were to go up and, you know, take out another SR level in here, that we could still fade down to a lower level. And, you know, when you look at them lower levels, if we actually break and lose this, you've got a swing failure pattern below this low here. And then failing that, you've got all this volume here, which I'd probably say, you know, the volume point of control for this whole area would probably be where the monthly is itself. It's got to be somewhere in there. Let's see if we can pull this quickly. It's actually lower. So you got the value area high. Point of control sitting down at sort of 8 cents. Value area high is at 12 cents. So we really don't want to be seeing it going that low. I mean, don't forget, NEXO has just acquired a stake in a major bank in the US. And when I say a stake, as in they've bought a portion and have ownership, which is going to go leaps and bounds for them towards being a security token, which there's no regulation around at the moment. Let's take a quick look at a few other things, just so we can see where we were and where we've been. All right, so I remember distinctly I was looking at these last time. So I had these marked out. Where is it? So while we were trading in these ranges, come on. I've got a new mouse. It's terrible to use. The DPI and it's awful. I'm going to have to replace it. So previously we had the run up. Nice pullback, trend line held. We had a push up here into the monthly, which is also a point of control of this zone, which I had mapped out well in advance, which was quite helpful to a few of the guys I know who are heavily invested in it. So as you can see, point of control, beautiful touch and rejection again. Held the trend line for a third time, a fourth time. As you can see, these are just wicks below. We came up to the monthly, broke through a little bit, had a bit of a rejection, took any liquidity above this area. And then we gently fall back to the trend line, and look what happens. We get the Binance announcement. Binance announcement shoots up, massive upswing, and then it's, as we've seen before, 9 weeks of downtrend as the market started to retrace. Now, do remember clearly as well, if we have a look at the retracement from this top to this bottom, you have the 786 and the 886 here. Beautiful, perfectly coincided this region. Now it's never a perfect, it's never on a line, but it's always a region. And if you were to trade that to get in and out, you know, you always want to get out before the point of control and the major monthly, because as you can see, that pretty much touched it to the dollar. Like it literally tapped it and rejected, and it never went back there again. So, you know, if you had held on to the $4, you've watched it retrace all the way back to $1 US. And then gradually over a few months, it's worked its way back up and you've seen $3.60 again. If you knew what to look for, you would have definitely been out if you were a holder, especially maybe into Tether. And you could have sat on the sidelines, holding Tether, and you could have just watched it retrace nicely. All right, let's take a look at these lower levels here. Now, I really want to pick out a couple of daily levels in here. We do have a few, but it's nothing that's really, I'd call a nice SR level. There is a few areas I would pick. That was a nice swing failure pattern of those previous lows here to here. We've dropped off, we've come back up. So I'd say we're probably looking in this region here. If we're going to come up, we've already had the first touch here on sort of a daily, if that was to be acted as support. Drop through, resistance. At the moment, we're just holding sideways. I guess we're kind of waiting to see what Bitcoin does and the ES stock market, which are highly correlated at the moment, and with interest rates rising, you know, alts are still moving, but some of them not so frequent. A couple of other things I want to take a look at. Let's have a look at this area here. I'll fix that up in a minute. This mouse is terrible. The last one stopped working. It started double clicking for me. I'd had it for about 4 years. It was beautiful. There we go. So again, first touch, second touch, third touch exactly through onto a weekly level, crossing with a trend line. It was just every reason to reject here. You know, after a typical Binance pump, it was like a last-ditch chance for people to get out if you were a short-term holder. We had a few other areas down here where if you look at these consolidation zones here, as you can see the point controls here, you do have a high volume node right here in line where we've actually wicked off here. So that's also held, that one's held before we moved up. Now what I'm looking at the moment is with this last volume section, a local POC, I really don't want us to lose that. Even if we were to do a swing failure pattern here of this level, you know, if you'd get an SFP right here, take any final liquidity, you know, you'd want to steer an instant back up through and hold. Because if we didn't get that, I don't see us holding that monthly below, because there's nothing really in confluence with it. If we were to come down, take the liquidity, start working our way back up, you know, build a bit of a pattern, and then work our way back up through, and then sort of reclaim this area, you know, at a later date. It's too hard to say. I just don't see it going back up anytime soon. I think this downtrend has been too short in terms of time. I do see us having a progressively longer downtrend. It's not something I want to say or see, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Now, if we go and look at this section of the chart and we take a quick look, we'll just shoot over to the Binance version of it. What we'll do is we'll just zoom in. We'll go down to the 4 hour. So obviously we had this downtick, you know, as you can see from that Binance pump, you know, it's down. It went down all the way to 88%. 88% loss. At the moment, we've been traveling sideways. So we're in a nice range. Not doing nothing exciting. You know, and this is since mid-August. Trending sideways. So I'm aware of some lower levels, and I've drew these on here purely because there's higher volume. They're easier to pick out. The levels to watch, you know, if we were to drop and lose the daily, you know, I'd be saying to myself, okay, where are we heading to next? We do have another daily below. You know, if we have a look at this whole volume section here, you know, we've got a nice big volume node in here. And we could certainly take a look at where we're going to go next. So we've got 75 cents, 65 cents, you know, and then you're looking down to this monthly. Anything lower this, we have to revert back to the HITBTC chart. For everything above, let's just put this on. Previous consolidation zone here, which would be all this area here. You've already got your point of control, which you've hit here. So again, you'd look to retest this. Obviously, you're going to have a daily level here. You've got a daily level here before you head back up. So it's a case of hold the level, break resistance, try and reclaim a support, move back up to the next daily, step by step, day by day. So I wouldn't be in any rush to buy this right now until I'd see some levels higher reclaimed. If you are a long-term holder, it's probably best when you purchase this to make sure that you collect their equivalent of the dividend in NEXO, if that's what you're into. You believe in the token for the long term in the company, because they do offer an extra 2% in that return. So for example, if you hold Bitcoin, Ethereum, and NEXO, they will pay you out equally proportionately your, say, 12%, whatever the going APR is against each of those tokens. You'll be paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and NEXO, but there is an option where you can actually opt to have all of it paid in NEXO. And if you do select that option, you have to switch it on, and they will pay you an additional 2% of total for the overall amount. Now, beware, that does come with its own risks of it is a Ethereum-based token on their network. And you know, the volatility in the alts, you know, you could still see this drop further down, and you know, from its current position at the moment, if we were to see a push down to that swing failure pattern, you're still looking at another 50% drop down to the monthly. You know, you've got an 82% drop. So just bear all that in mind when you are acquiring your next batch of tokens. All right, guys, thanks for your time. On to the next one.